Gulags are good, actually. This is not some cry of some like autistic commie who thinks that actually, no, of course, we're just getting rid of the bad guys or something like that.
In Soviet Russia, gulags are good for you.
Anyway, I wanted to get this first image up first. So this is the museum, the Gulag Museum in Moscow, which you can go visit. And I didn't get a chance to see last time I was there, but it looks like I was going to say good fun, but no, that's the wrong word.
Yeah,
but
maybe not that.
Educational, of course. Anyway, but the funny thing is, of course, the Soviets and all communist regimes who set up their gulags end up deporting to them the most interesting people in the country and the smartest people in the country.
Well, yes, the people who misbehave or don't fit in with the norms. So obviously you're going to get the cool people.
So I think it was Leo who might have mentioned this article, but it came out...
Gulag's Cool Kids Club, yeah.
I mean, unironically though. So if we go to the next link here, we have The Economist, who there was a study done into what actually happens with the people who are in the gulags, who are all the most interesting and most intelligent people in the country, after the gulags ended. And, well,
they were all concentrated in small areas.
Yeah, so this is the headline. How regions near Stalin's gulags benefit today from his victims. And, well, they've actually got an argument in here. So they start off with a quote from Solzhenitsyn. The bedbugs infested the board bunks like locusts. In the autumn, the typhus arrived. We crawled to the fences and begged, give us medicine. And the guards fired a volley from the watchtowers. In the Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn chronicled the soul-crushing torment of Soviet prisoners. Jailed for criticizing the government, Solzhenitsyn was one of the 2.65 million people from 1921 to 59 arrested for counter-revolutionary activities and labeled enemies of the people. Not all enemies of the people were dissidents, simply belonging to the petty bourgeoisie, so that's someone who owns 2 cows instead of 1. I mean, again, like the rich...
Like the kulaks.
Rich peasants.
Yeah.
Think about that.
This is an oxymoron.
Rich, peasant. No.
I see you have an extra glass of milk for the evening.
Yeah, so...
Off to Gulag.
Often led to a trip to the gulags. As a result, enemies of the people tended to be well educated. In 1939, 1% of the census respondents and 2% of gulag inmates had university degrees. So an overrepresentation of 100% there in the gulags in 1939 alone. Among the enemies of the people from 27 to 53, the rate was 15%. Incarcerating enemies of the people thus entailed relocating much of the Soviet intelligentsia, and now a paper by Gerard Tolles of the New Economic School in Moscow and Pierre-Louis Venzada of King's College London shows that the regions where the enemies of the people were jailed still reap economic benefits from the forced migration. So if we can scroll up on this, John, just so you can show people the first image there, just to make sure people can see it. So keep going to the first image, so right at the top. Oh, there's not an image. There should be an image there. So you can see that there's like a graphic that's not working there. Damn. Oh, well. Anyway, there's meant to be a big graph there of the Soviet Union and, of course, all the different camps and the percentages of which are enemies of the people in those camps and percentages of numbers of people in there. And you can see that the enemies of the people camps, the ones that have more of them, have more economic growth as well. So, and that's what their study found. The study began with data on the share of inmates in each of the 79 prisons in 1952 who were enemies of the people. Save for 9 special enemies of the people camps, political prisoners were mixed in with common criminals, aside from a few patterns. Enemies of the people tended to cluster in big prisons in thinly populated areas with weak transport links, and the choice of camps they were just at random, the ones they were chosen for. Next, the paper measured current levels of economic development within 30 kilometers of these prison sites. It found that the greater a camp's share of enemies of the people, the richer and better educated the people living there are today.
Nice.
I mean, that's kind of hilarious.
That's one in the eye for Stalin right there.
Yeah, but it's also just a sort of big dunk on the communists as well, of course, that you guys were just killing all the best people in the country. And that's why all your stuff sucks as well.
I mean, this is a joke they make in The Death of Stalin. It's like, oh, call the doctors. We need the good doctors. What did we do to the good doctors? Oh, we killed them all.
Yeah, there are no good doctors anymore. We have the ones who are just cowered by Stalin.
Yeah, we have the mediocre and just bad doctors.
Yeah, anyway. I don't know if there's there should be some more graphs later on. I don't know if we can get those up just so some better visuals than me just reading this. But even after accounting for regional differences and factors that were affected by enemies of the people where they were sent, a 10 percentage point increase in the share of inmates who were enemies of the people corresponded to gains of 8% in wages, 23% in profit per worker, and 23% points in share of firms at which an average worker went to university, and 21% in the strength of the light emitted at night per person. So a measure of economic success.
Yes.
And I think that's fantastic. I don't know if you can reload this, John, in some way to try and get those images up, because I really do want to show the first image on there, because the graph is something stark. But anyway, so they go on to explain, of course, that this if you go through and check what happened to these people after the camps ended, you can see that they had...
Is that the image?
No real choice. Yeah, so that image there at the top.
At the top, John.
At the top. That's fine. I just want to show the top one. That's all. So the one at the top just shows the big graph of the Soviet Union, and as you can see, the little clusters of the different camps, and the blue bubbles being a higher percentage of enemies of the people. So those are the ones where all the intelligentsia and interesting people went. And the funny thing, of course, as well, all the interesting people who are on, like, say, YouTube and Twitter and whatnot have all been banned. They now all cluster on alt tech. So if you go in these little alt tech gulags, you can find all those people.
As well. That's what we are.
Yeah, you can also find, like, Robin Tomlinson, or the Bad Man, as he's known, of course, on Gedda, or Milo.
Let's not invoke his name.
Milo and Gab, or all the rest of it. Anyway. And so they finish off here saying, to explain this trend, the author studies where the enemies of the people went after being freed. Until 1959, enemies of the people were not allowed to go home. Their wolves' passports stopped them from living in big cities, as prisons became company towns. Managers at state enterprises recruited ex-cons, who often stayed where they had friends, our family. So they just stayed around where they were. And then, of course, the little towns have been brought up. Which I just think is just a big dunk on Stalin from a long historical perspective, as you were saying.
Like most things the Soviet Russia did, it's a complete self-own.
Yeah, it's such a backfire. And it also just shows how nonsensical their policies were, which I think is great. Anyway, so moving on from this, they found that most respondents are also now living there with relatives still. And he ends it with, Joseph Stalin did his best to wipe out perceived enemies. It might have comforted those enemies of the people to know that their human capital has outlived the gulag system by 6 decades. And the funniest part of all this, because I mean, this is a nice story in a horrible sense, in the fact that, of course, these people
success in the face of adversity,
and horrible evil and cruelty. But there's also stuff. The Marxists are still seething.
Good.
So, I mentioned that Gulag museum, which you can go to in Moscow to learn about all this stuff. So the local communists are still super mad, and this is what they did with an effigy of Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Revolutionary Youth Group hangs Solzhenitsyn effigy on Moscow Gulag Museum.
I mean, rent-free, am I right?
Yeah, can we scroll down and show the image here so you can see Solzhenitsyn's effigy there with a rope around his neck, and then just some message they've plastered on being like, he's a liar, nothing happened.
So I'm just imagining his estate just like counting the money they get from book sales. It's like, huh? Okay.
Yeah, but also just, I mean, we can count the corpses as well. I mean, this communist group are just trying to deny everything he ever said and be like, well, it's all just lies.
Of course they are.
And I think there's a quote in there later on when they say
I've met people from Russia who've been like, I just shone light on the dark parts of Soviet Russia. Don't you understand how clean the streets were? I don't care. I don't care. If you hit the hat off a police officer, you'd get in prison for 5 years.
It's like the Christchurch shooters argument almost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, I may have done horrible things, but look at this one nice thing that's happened. It's like, I don't agree that's a nice thing either, you lunatic. But whatever. So, Revolutionary Communist Youth Group hung an effigy of writer Alexander Solzhenitsyn on the gate of the museum, and the owner of the museum, or at least the manager, Roman Romanov.
My name's Barry Barryson.
No, but also Romanov. The Romanov being the royal family.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably just pure coincidence, of course, but I just find it funny. Director of the museum told Moscow Times that the guards spotted it and took it down within a few minutes, so no one got they didn't get to have much of a laugh about it anyway. They also tried to investigate the youths because they've got them on camera, so they tried to hunt them down, but I don't know what happened with that. But I just thought I want to cover that because it's kind of a neat historical fact that, well, of course, all the best people being sent to all the gulags means that all the best people and their families
stay around that area
and actually do produce good stuff.
Yeah. Anyway. Capitalism works.
Yes, even in the gulags.
In the gulags, yes.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast, The Lotus Eaters, you can go over to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as this Epoch series, which Bo and Carl did together, on the life of Napier, who was a chap in the British Army who decided that Lamal bored, so conquered all of southern Pakistan and claimed it for crown and country, which... very based. But anyway, go and check that out, his life and all his achievements. If you'd like to keep up with the stuff we're releasing on the site, you can also follow us on Gedda.com. That is lotuseaters_com to find us on there. Thank you and goodbye.